All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Hello
Hello,
Tanzania.
Tanzania.
Your favorite yappers are back on screen. My name is Lucinda, and I am with.
Joanne.
And our special guest today is.
Charlotte Makala.
All right. So we are on a very strict timer today, and I'm going to be like a proper captain. So today's topic, we're trying to look at the identity tug of war that returning citizens often face. And many have said that whenever they come, they find themselves at a crossroads between the different cultures that they've been exposed to. So I'm going to pass over the mic because I think we've talked a lot about our experiences.
Yeah.
We just want to hear from Charlotte. First of all, when did you move out of Tanzania? What was the reason? When did you decide to come back? Why did you decide to come back? What has Tanzania been like to you? Just give us a little bit about yourself so that we get to know you.
So, leaving Tanzania and returning to Tanzania both were not my choice. So, I left here when I was 1 year old. So, of course, I didn't have a say
Yeah.
when.
Yeah.
And so, I left when I was one. And we moved to the Middle East for my dad's work. So, I grew up there. I would come back here for a holiday.
Yeah.
And so, every once a year, I'd come back. And then I went to university, which was in Malaysia. I came back to the Middle East to work, and then I went to America to get my master's degree and also work. So after getting my master's degree and working, I said, you know what, let me take a vacation. Let me go back to the Middle East, and then let me go to Tanzania, and I will return to America. However, COVID said,
I know.
COVID said no.
COVID settled a lot of
COVID
people
said
here.
no.
It
COVID said you're
disrupted
not
a
going
lot of
back.
things.
Yeah, it said no.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it said you are not coming back. And so, of course, no one knew like there's going to be such a thing as COVID. So I went to the Middle East, started hearing rumors about there's a COVID, yeah, pandemic. We started hearing those rumors, but and so when I came here, I wore a mask and but like there was like 50-50, like some people were wearing masks, some people not, because it was still a rumor. And then I think my second week here, I found out when I left the Middle East that things had shut down, so things were very, very different. And then over here, I think my first week, I had heard that the first person with COVID had passed away.
Here in Tanzania.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember it was a very strange thing. I was at the bank for some reason, and then the lady just asked me out of nowhere. I think what did she say? What did she ask me? I think she said something like, "Oh, well, umetoka nje," something like that. And then karibu ndio. And so as soon as I said that, the way people split.
Oh, wow.
And they just left me, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so awkward. I feel so awkward. So yeah, basically when COVID happened, I realized very quickly that I was gonna have to start making a new life here.
That must have been a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure, but I think what happened was that it happened in phases for me. I think I was still in denial. I was like, this will end in a few months. This will end in a few months.
That was
this will
Weren't
that
end.
was
we all?
actually me because
Yeah.
COVID was actually the reason why I was like, hey, might as well just settle in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'd come back from Namibia for like, I'd gone on holiday, came back, and then I was like, I think I want to go back home. I'm struggling here. And then Namibia announces that they're shutting down their borders. I'm like, oh, okay.
COVID said,
said
chill.
no.
Yeah,
Sure.
COVID said you're gonna stay
Tranquilo.
here, right here. This is where you belong. And they're like for 2 weeks, and I'm like, okay, I can survive 2 weeks on the
Yeah.
little savings that I have and whatnot. And then it goes to a month, and then next thing I'm like, okay, so my savings are running out.
Yeah.
I need a plan. And the first announcement, I actually shouldn't say this, but the first announcement of the first death actually shocked me because the Friday before, I was actually hanging out with this dude.
Really?
And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
It's
This is
real. Yeah.
And then I went into a spiral because I was like, I was with this person last week.
Do I have it?
Do
Is
I
that what
have
you- yeah.
COVID? I feel like I
Oh
actually
my
got
God.
sick because it was all in my head.
Yeah.
But turns out I didn't get sick.
That's
So
crazy.
COVID was a culprit for
Yeah, for
a lot
for a
of
lot of people
people.
just settling
Yeah,
down.
a lot
Yeah.
of people settling back into Tanzania. So, now that you said it took phases for you, but like,
Yes.
when did you actually realize that there's that split between
The divide.
the cultural divide? When did
I
you start feeling
think-
it?
I think I started feeling it as soon as I landed off the plane.
As soon as
Yeah.
that thick air
Yes,
hits
yes,
you
yes,
in the
it
face,
hits me,
yeah.
and you meet the first immigration officer. Because before then, I had been coming here for holidays. I'd never lived here before. So it was all very, joyous moments, my cousins and family.
It's all
time.
fun and games.
Yeah, it's all fun and games. And also, I think I had lived in America for a very long time. And just the idea of home, or wherever you are, like if you're away from home, you really can, you
Romanticize
romanticize home.
the
Yeah.
beaches.
That's the
Yes,
best.
you
Palm
romanticize
trees.
home,
Yeah.
and you romanticize the people, and you also, for me, I romanticize my feeling of belonging,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, I grew up from outside. I'm always a foreigner, always a foreigner. When I come back home, I will
These are my
belong.
people.
I
Yeah.
will belong. Yeah, so that's what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
I think I got off the plane. The thick hair hit me. The first immigration
You'll never
officer,
get
and
used to it.
unfortunately, it wasn't a pleasant experience. So I'm coming in, to this country with hopes and dreams and positive vibes only. And so the first it was very, for me, it was like a rude encounter. I'm like, where's the sense of belonging? It was something, what was it? It was just, Charlotte Makala. So I just didn't expect that. And so I'm like, oh.
Did you speak in English with them?
Did I speak? No, I spoke in Kiswahili.
Okay.
Yeah. But I just felt like you're just.
Where is this energy
Yeah,
coming
where's it coming from? And like,
Maybe they were
why
having
so-
a bad day.
Maybe they're having a bad day, but that I didn't put that into the equation of my romanticizing
Yeah.
the belonging.
Yeah.
No bad days. This was in my imagination. It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
In
like,
her
you should
mind,
be happy and
all
be
days
alone.
are
You should be
rosy.
welcoming to me. And then I think also, when I found myself like trying to just navigate simple things, and even now it's still a struggle of like navigating the languages. So there's times when I don't know what happens, like I don't know what state my brain is in, but Kiswahili kiko juu, and then the next day or a week later, it's like my Swahili is back to like zero, and I don't know how to explain it to people because those same people is like, didn't we just hear you speak in full Kiswahili properly just last week, and then this week you are back to like a weird, like, what happened, and I don't know how to explain it, and it's just the gears in my head, and
They have
I
some funny
can
moments
relate
of turning.
though. I
I
can
get
relate
that.
that.
Yeah.
It's like a little blip in your mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I know this,
Yeah.
but just doesn't want to come out.
All right. So
Yeah.
like, there's language. There is the food. There is dress code.
Yes.
Like all of those things, I
Yeah.
feel like they tie into the identity crisis that
They
a lot of
do.
us face.
Yes.
Language is quite possibly the
I have this
biggest.
story to tell you about dress code that I didn't know. Yeah, and exactly that was the reaction of my aunt as well.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I had to get my documents, etc., etc. And what was the document I had to get? I had to go to a government office. It wasn't my passport. Was it my NIDA? I think it might have been NIDA. So I had to get documents in order. So one of the very first buildings, I believe it could have been my NIDA card. I had to go and get registered. And so I think there's still I thought I was dressed decently, but I didn't know that there's another way to dress when you go to the government offices.
Yeah.
So there again, the guard there, I don't know why. And it's just like, bruh, can't you just, what's it called, Star? Well, just tell me nicely and like
What I
just,
need to
yeah,
do,
what I need
yeah.
to do. So I remember I was getting into the gates. It was a dress, loose, and it was just above the knee, but it also had like something see-through, transparent over it, which goes up to the bottom of my feet. But the inside part covers just here, so then my shoulder is exposed kind of, and then it's above my knee, even though it's loose. So I didn't know that was a problem. So anyways, I get there, and then when the registration lady's just looking me up and down, I'm like, okay, maybe it's just how she is.
Yeah.
And then when I go into the building, so now I've entered the compound, but I was not allowed to enter the building itself.
Yeah.
And so when I was there, I remember the guard said, "What? Do you think this is your church or something? Do you think this is church or something that you're gonna come inside like that?" And I remember that comment also. I was like, "Wouldn't you
What
dress
does
more
church
modestly
have
have
to
to
do
do?"
this?
Yeah. So I didn't understand either.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. And so I was just there thinking, and then finally a lady, she spoke to me. She's like, Dada, do you have a kanga? Maybe you want to go wear a kanga or kitenge. This is a government building. So she explained it to me nicely, and I was like, oh. So I had to leave the building. I just went to one of these like Hyosamba when I was in Nanihi, like just random mitumba, and I bought a dress that was long.
Yeah.
And and then I went inside, did all my Nita stuff, but it was just such a shock. I didn't know and I didn't expect that.
So I feel like for dress code, my parents kind of hammered that into me because the dress culture in Southern Africa is you can wear shorts and like walk around in the streets, so different. So every time we came to Tanzania, my mother would be like, "What have you put in your suitcase? I need to see what you've packed." And then we'd arrive here, and when I go out, she'll be like, "You can't go out dressed like that. Go change. You need to wear something to cover your shoulders." I'm like, "But I'm going out with my cousins." She's like, "No. They're gonna rip it." Like there was that story that they used to rip people's clothing. So my parents really instilled that fear in me. So like coming to Tanzania, coming to Tanzania, like every time we came, I'd always be like, "Is this decent enough? Like, can I get in a daladala with this outfit?" And so with the dress code, I feel like my parents instilled the fear of God in me about outfits. Like in Namibia, you can wear whatever pleases you within limits. I mean, they're still African parents. Within limits, you can wear. But when we go to Tanzania, we need you to behave like we raised you right. So the dress code was okay. The language was the shocker because I could understand Kiswahili very well, but responding,
that's where I'm at right now.
And so I had to to properly learn how to respond, how to. I still struggle. Like if you write me a very long text, I'm gonna need you to all be silent as I read. Do not interrupt me because if you do, I'm going to have to start afresh.
Reading Swahili is definitely a challenge for me too.
I can respond like basic text, like short text messages. I can send them in Kiswahili. But if you send me a long text and I take forever to respond, just know I'm processing.
You're breaking it down.
Somehow though I've gotten better at reading Kiswahili, but I'm still at that place. And this is the weird thing. It's hard to explain to someone like another Swahili speaker that like just speak to me in Kiswahili. I promise you I understand everything that you're saying. I just can't respond to you.
Or I need a minute to process everything. And respond to you.
And because I feel like sometimes I'm in situations where people don't know that I understand just because of they judge based off of what I can express, but they don't know that I can comprehend. And so I sometimes want to tell people like, just speak to me in Kiswahili. When youongeleshe tu, just speak to me. If there's something I don't understand, I'll repeat the word for you to explain it. But just speak to me because I feel like I can understand at a higher level than I can express. And so it's difficult. I feel like now I'm putting that person in a situation where they also want to speak English or they feel like they have to speak English and everything. But I just feel like I want to make things comfortable for people. And then even there's just so many so this also
there's a lot
affects
of nuances
yes
to it. So I'm gonna cut you. We're gonna get to languages because that's a whole other conversation we need to have. I do have a question, right? How does it feel being a foreigner in your own country? And I feel like this is a pain point because I actually wrote a whole article about it on Medium. We'll get to it later, but how does it feel? Like
it's really frustrating, but sometimes I kind of use it to my advantage a little bit because like people don't bother you as much if they don't think you're from
you understand.
Here, But at the same time, it's really frustrating because people don't think you're Tanzanian either. So it's like,
you have to explain yourself extra.
Exactly.
When you say they don't bother you, what do you mean?
I don't know, like maybe they kind of have a bit of a more respect for foreigners or something. So it's like, okay, maybe I can get away with certain things, But like, so it's really frustrating.
I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
What she means, okay, my experience,
Yeah.
like there are certain calls I would make, and when I speak, I've noticed like when I speak in Kiswahili,
Yeah.
I don't get service as fast as I do when I speak in English.
Yes.
For example, there was a time we had like a transformer explode in our neighborhood,
Yeah.
and we live in an
crazy.
apartment complex with like over 30 apartments, and
Yeah.
people were calling back to back. And I remember talking to my neighbor, I'm like, let me just try. And then I called and I selected the English option.
Yeah.
The lady answers and she tries to speak to me in Kiswahili, and I went full English on her. And she's like, sorry, we have a technical problem, but we're sending our drivers right now. I kid you not, within 30 minutes, I receive a call from the drivers. We're outside, can you lodged a complaint? I'm like, people have been lodging complaints
It's
really
for
crazy.
hours,
Yeah.
you know? So like little things like that work to your benefit.
Yeah.
But I think it's more frustrating than it is
Yeah. It's
of
really
an advantage,
frustrating.
I guess,
Yeah.
considering the community you're living in. So
Yeah.
what is it like for you?
It's interesting that you say that, and I feel I'm torn really, because I also see the privilege slash
That comes
elitism
with
that
it,
comes
yeah.
with English.
Yeah.
When you can speak a certain type of English, I see that. Do I use it to my advantage? I'm probably sure. Like it's such a, you know, when you have your blinders on, like you don't realize the amount of privilege that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I probably do, but I'm not
Don't
aware of
realize
it,
it.
and I'm not doing
Yeah.
it consciously. And yeah, absolutely. Like there's definitely a divide when it comes to you being like considered a foreigner in your own country. One of the things like you mentioned as well, there's certain things that people don't expect you to do, so you can get away with a little bit more, especially culturally and within the family. And so there's things I want to give an example. I'm trying to think. Maybe even when it comes to dress code, they'll be like, "Oh, it's okay. She can wear that. Yeah, she can wear that." So, and then what else? I'm trying to think.
I feel like
Yeah,
it becomes the cousin or the auntie that only makes salads. You don't go outside to cook.
yes.
Yeah.
When
They
you
don't
go,
give you the
I
hard
can cook
jobs.
when you cook, but like, yeah, give me
Yeah,
the
they don't
salads. I'll do the
expect you.
salads.
Yes,
I love it.
They don't
You know, because I'm
expect-
like,
yeah.
wash them out. I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah, but you know what? I really can't though. I think I can.
No, I really can't, but I
Yeah.
can cook on it. Like
Yes,
I've
I
cooked
can cook,
like a big
yeah.
pot of pilau before, and my sister was like,
Yeah.
"You're ready to be a wife." I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, please. I'll do the salads."
Once in a while, you know,
Once
just
in
to
a while,
shock
you
the
shock
system.
them, yeah.
Like, guys, I'm actually learning, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, you're Tanzanian, but you're not like really
Yes,
Tanzanian. Because
yeah.
like when you're outside, you're too Tanzanian to be
From
there.
there.
from there. And then when
Yeah.
you come here, you're like, where's your accent from?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Are you Kenyan?
Yeah.
You're too tall. Are you sure you're not from Rwanda? Like,
It's really frustrating.
I always talk about like if I got $1
Yeah.
for every time I got such
We'd be
comments,
rich.
I'd be rich.
Yeah.
I would be so rich.
Like just the other day, somebody asked me if I was Tanzanian, and I'm like, yeah, like it's
I need
really
to start charging
frustrating
people
because
for this.
like, where do I belong?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so I think maybe to put it into context, we should also like look at the different ways that this tug of war happens, in the workplaces. I think we've talked a lot about the family and the societal settings,
Yeah.
but like in the workplace, what does that look like? What has been your experience?
So, first of all, I think I just make it clear wherever I work that I work in English because, Kiswahili, I never went to school for it. And so I don't want to deceive anyone. Like I can do translations to English, but I never really do it the other way around. And then also the same thing with you, like when I receive documents in Kiswahili, most of the time I put it through Google, I put it through ChatGPT just so that I can read it quickly and understand. And so there is that divide a little bit at work. And then I think there's also an impression that people have once you start speaking English at a certain workplace. Not all, but some workplaces, there's just an assumption of like the kind of person that you are. And sometimes, I don't know, like they just
Like she's uppity.
Yeah, she's uppity. Huyu mtu wa
Ooh,
kishua.
that's a very bougie word.
Yeah. And so, and so even that, like, I think they just assume that you come from a certain lifestyle, a certain background. And so I don't, well, I can say this. There was a time, I was working at a certain place, and there was a colleague of mine. You know, he wouldn't greet me. He wouldn't say hi to me.
So weird.
Say hi to everyone else. I'm like, why does this guy never say hi to me? So I started forcing, and then I would start, Mambo, da, da, da. I started talking to him. And then months later, he told me, like, you know, when I first met you, I thought you were this, I thought you were that, and like I thought you were just some bougie girl, and so I was very surprised that you're different. And I was just like, well, you didn't give me a chance. You just heard me speak, and then made your own assumption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Assumption.
I think we get that a lot.
My mom always says, never assume, because you end up making an ass out of you and me. Yeah. So, you know, just.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I can relate to. From the previous conversations that we've had, this is like the first big company that I've worked in, and I have had my fair share of challenges. So that brings me now to code switching, because it's something I think I had to really learn how to do.
Yeah.
But it took me a very long time. Yeah. How do you code switch between being, you know, your bougie foreign self and
blending,
you know, blending in, blending in with
and
the people that surround you. Like, what does that code switch look like to you?
Oh, it's terrible, because for me, I shrink. I become smaller and I become quiet. And just so that people cannot detect me. So there's certain places I go that I don't want to be detected. So when I don't want to be, as a foreigner, you know, I will, you know, make sure that I wear less makeup, and then I will speak much, much less. So then I come off as a quiet person. How you Pole? So instead of like, how you matoka nje? I just don't want to be that person who's a foreigner. I'd rather just be somebody else who's quiet, quiet lady.
I so get that, because even me personally, I understand what you mean when you say you shrink. I really do become quiet, and the only time maybe I'll talk is when I'm asking the price or directions, but otherwise I just beeline to my destination and back. Like, I don't even try to mingle too much with people, because it's just like it's a lot of work. And then my broken
but you're
Swahili.
an extrovert. How do you pull that off?
Well, I think it's because I'm an extrovert that I realize, like, I guess also my extrovert has boundaries, and I think it's because I realize, like, oh, I can't express myself in this language. I think my biggest accomplishment would be to say that I'm funny in Kiswahili, and I think I've only accomplished that twice, you know, ever. But I would love to be able to do that fully, and so I need to probably go through a process of learning and just really, really absorbing. But knowing that I can't express myself, therefore I hold back. It's just very easy to hold back, to shrink, to be quiet, because I feel like, and I think the thought of like, oh, I'm gonna get this wrong if I say it, or they're gonna hear my accent when I say it, they're gonna know. And I think it's I would prefer, again, just to not be detected. That desire of not being detected is much greater than the desire to express myself. So you just pull it off.
In those situations, for example, if somebody does detect that maybe you're from somewhere else, they do start treating you a bit differently.
Yeah, and you become a spectacle, and that's what I don't want. It's like, and then they start asking you questions and like, making a big deal out of you, and I just,
I don't know if I've managed to make myself less detectable.
Because you love being the biggest.
No, that's the thing. I don't. I'm such an introvert, but I'm also the kind of introvert that just, if something feels off, or like I feel like I need to express myself, I do it. And I learned, I made peace with the fact that I don't speak the Swahili that she speaks, so I'm going to speak it my way. If you laugh, knock yourself out.
As long as you understand.
As long as I have made my point, I'm good with that. Like, I had this one incident. My aunt lives not too far from here, and I remember taking a dala from here. I was going to Limani City, and right at the traffic lights at External, the bus that I was on hits what you call it, the those trucks, the tankers. It hit a tanker, and I was still dealing with PTSD because I had just had a car crash like a few months before. So like, I freaked out. And I was on those daladalas where they have seats that you sit facing everybody else. So when we hit the tanker, it hit me back, and I still had like my back injury. So it brought up a lot of trauma. So I freaked out, and I asked the daladala the conductor, like, can I get off? And he's like, no, Sijali, nothing happened. We're gonna keep moving. But he couldn't see that I was freaking out, and I could not express that, guy, I'm dealing with PTSD, just let me off. Because there's a lot going on here. I just need to get off. I've already paid my bus fare, just let me go. And the dude was refusing to open the door because of the traffic lights, and, Tupokonye Mata, we cannot open the doors. And I remember losing it, and I forgot my Kiswahili, and I blew off in English. And then I felt like the English wasn't Englishing it. And I went into Afrikaans, and I was very shocked. I'm like, I know I don't speak Afrikaans, but where did these words come from?
I love it.
Like people on the bus were like, "Mwasha shuke," like let her go, because I think even he was like, "Okay, where is this coming from?" But that day I was like, "Okay, I don't really care about the whole language issue. You're gonna let me go." So I think
it was like your awakening moment. Like, you know what? It doesn't actually matter what you.
So
speak,
like
just,
moments like that,
high stakes moments.
I forget that people would look at me a certain way, and I'm like, just let me go. And if you're trying to cross me, man, I'm an introvert, but I don't put up with stuff. I will call you out in an instant.
That's awesome.
And I know that rubs people off, because they're like, on top of being bougie, you're also like, what's the word I want? I don't want to.
What, hostile or?
Not hostile. Like the B word, right? We've been told not to cuss out too much.
But those are just boundaries.
But like the B word, I'm like, why are you calling me that? Like, it's a bad thing. I know what I am.
They don't expect. I don't know if this is a thing everywhere, but like, as a woman and stuff, they don't actually expect you to be strong-willed assertive and say, maybe hey, I want this.
That's a cultural thing, because I know for a fact,
we're so timid. I noticed the women here are
very timid. And that's the thing. Like, I was raised by a man who would be like, speak your mind. And like, whatever we want with my dad, you have to have like a proper game plan. If you go and you're like scratching your head, you're not sure about what you want to say, he's not going to give you the time of day. And that's something that we picked up, like, even as siblings. The one with the strongest case wins. I got away with that from school, because I'm like, I know how to deal with my dad. He deals with facts. So you present yourself the way you want people to take you. So when I come here and people are like, unajua wanaume, you don't talk to a man like that, I'm like, ooh,
child, you don't know what my daddy
is. And I think growing up in places where, or like having the exposure of seeing something different, it's very strange, and like something I don't even know if I would say adjust to it, but I respect it, because that's how people think here. But then it is something that I definitely like have to adjust to and try to remember
to
and
an
be
extent.
Conscious of like, oh, this is how they think.
So over time I got to that point, but like at first I was just like, nope.
I feel like my patience was so thin when I first came, because I'm just there like, can you not see I'm trying to, I'm trying to be here and like express myself the best way I know how, and everything. Just because it's a little different doesn't mean I don't understand or don't want to engage with you. But the way you're treating me, it's like maybe I'm slow or just disrespectful. It's like, no, we're just having a miscommunication issue here.
And a culture clash.
Culture clash.
Because I think I also had this experience, and someone else was telling me that when they first got here, they felt like everybody was so rude. And so then I realized, it's a common experience. And I think there's that period of time where you need to adjust. And for me, what I feel it's like when you're in one culture, you expect people to behave and respond a certain way. And then when you come here, the people are not behaving and responding a certain way. And then there's also like a little bit of a laissez-faire kind of attitude.
That's the thing. Like for me personally, I'm coming from a place where things get done fast. Like if you go, for example, promptly, like with immigration, I also had an issue with immigration. Oh my God. And I'm like, this is your job. I'm here. I'm not even telling you like this is your job. Just like, if I have documents that are missing or something, tell me. But then now you want me to start begging you, to start
and then there's
stroking
the
your
time
ego.
aspect, people are
And it's
coming
like,
in late.
so it's like, it's
I
really
feel like this is a
frustrating.
conversation my dad should listen
It's
to, because
so
he would come to Tanzania and
frustrating.
he'd be like, I'm going to this government office.
Yeah.
I need to be there
Even
by
clear
8.
your whole
They
day.
open at 8. I'm
Clear
like,
your
no, Dad,
whole
they're not
day.
going to open
Clear
at 8.
your day.
Like service workers, for example, from government buildings or whatever, it's like they're not there for you. You go there for them because they're the ones who help you anyway. So like if they say no, so you really have to like really grab, like really humble yourself. That's why I just take a deep breath sometimes and I'm like, God, please
So like
be
with
with me.
coming
That
back,
took me a while to understand and
really
adjust.
frustrating.
so is it adapting and adjusting, or like masking? Are you putting on a mask? Or
No, I think
do you have moments where you adapt, or do you have moments where you put on a mask?
I think
Which one?
both, but for the most part, I'm adjusting because it used to send me over the edge. Like, I can't believe that you're slow. I can't believe that it doesn't work. Oh my God, So I see all these things happening, and I'm just like, why? Can't you do it like this? And it's my expectations of how other people are supposed to be. And then now I have also learned to just adapt. Like, you know what? I'm going
Is
to
it ever that
the
serious?
government, whatever. Let me clear my day. Understanding that things take a while. Understanding that this person wants their ego, whatever. So I understand.
Has it made us better people?
I think in a way,
Patience?
yes,
I
it
feel
definitely
like it
makes me
us
more
very
patient.
patient. Also, I want to say adaptable, because that's something I used to describe myself as. But as far as coming back home, I don't think adaptable works for me, because the whole reason we got to having this conversation in the first place is I had that thought of, I know I'm an adaptable person. I've lived in so many countries. Why is it I'm struggling with Tanzania? So it's not adapting. It's more of relearning, unlearning, relearning, and all that. But also, I put on masks. I've learned that there are moments, there are places where I have to put on a mask. On top of the fact that I'm an introvert, I don't, like I have a mask that I have to put on when I come to work, because I need to deal with people. At first I was like, I'm going in, I'm just doing the pull out. So like I have my headphones on, I mind my business, I don't talk to anybody. But now I'm required to like talk to people. I have a team that I need to communicate with. So I have to get out of my head and be like, oh, Joanne should know that she's supposed to do this. So Eric is supposed to deliver this. Like I don't need to run after him. I don't need to remind him. But at the back of my head, I have to tell myself that, hey, people here operate differently. So I feel like these are moments where I have to put on that mask that allows me to sort of like put myself in the headspace that enables me basically to relate or to work with people better. It's not easy.
It's not.
The mask is heavy. I wouldn't lie. It's heavy, but I think I have a system now. It's like I would come to work and like once I get into the gate, I have this mask on. And then the moment I get in the car and I'm headed home, I'm like, so there are moments where the mask is required. There are moments where adjusting or adapting or relearning is very necessary, especially in day-to-day life. Because with work, you can say this is like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
You can wear a mask and then take
but
it
then
off.
like outside there, you have family, you have friends, you have social circles, neighbors. Oh my God, neighbors. What?
I remember when I first came back to Tanzania, my mom made us like go say hi to all the neighbors, like introduce ourselves.
When you came back in November?
No. When we first came back, like a few years ago, because I still had to go study abroad.
Okay.
So but when we first came back to that, my mom said the neighbors have to know who we are. We can't just come out of nowhere and like just
That's understandable.
seclude ourselves.
I wish I had like I know if my mom was here, she would have insisted that I do that. But I'm alone.
You don't have to. And the neighbors will find you there.
Thankfully, my neighborhood, like in the apartment complex, we have like a WhatsApp group. I don't know who's who, but like information is shared on the group. I'm like, that's good enough for me. And then there's like the few right next to me.
I think for me, it's also very strange, like because I grew up in the Middle East, and as a woman, you're kind of even more conservative than you are here. And then after that, growing up in America, people don't talk to each other. So in the Middle East, I didn't talk to anyone. And then in America, you don't talk to anyone. And so coming here and now having to go just down the street to whatever and like saying hi to people, kwasalimia, it was a very foreign and weird thing. And I didn't know how and who to say hi to. And then also I was like, danger, stranger danger, why am I saying hi to? You know, so I think what happened for me was I had to learn like, okay, I gave myself time and I said the faces that I see often are the faces of the people who actually live here. Because I don't know if this person is just on the way somewhere or if he's actually a neighbor. And so when I started to recognize like faces, those are the faces I started saying hi to. But it wasn't immediate, you know. I think for other people, maybe like you were told, just go say hi to the neighbors. So.
But then there's also the, what are they called? Serikali za mitaa. Those actually were how I started knowing places. But then it was also very confusing because I would assume, like, if I'd go to an office and then, you know, I meet people there, they direct me to the actual person. I'm like, no, kuna, what do they call it? Nyumba kumi or something like that. Like,
every 10 houses.
Every 10 houses. So you need to to go to that person first. And then from there you come to serikali za mitaa or whatever it's called. I'm like, to get a bank account? Like, what?
It's actually kind of crazy. But have you noticed that people are just friendlier here in a way?
Yes.
Yeah. Like
a lot more friendlier.
I think they're more genuine as well. I think for me, like coming from LA and then being here, it's a huge difference overall. I can't, in LA, I would say I had very wonderful friends, very close, wonderful, genuine people. But then overall, the society, I feel, was somehow, and even when you go there, the first thing you hear is like people say, oh, everyone in LA is fake. That's not necessarily true, but it's sort of
surface level.
Yeah, certain things can be surface level. And so I would say here people are genuine. That's the difference for me.
I do agree with that. It's easier to talk to just a random person than it is out there, because like, okay, what are this person's motives?
What are their motives? Yes. There's ulterior motives.
You know, like there was this one old man who used to sell mangoes, and I loved that man for the life of me. I would sit there and have mangoes almost every day, the raw mangoes with the salt and everything. And when I told him that I'm no longer going to be coming, he was genuinely heartbroken. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad. Like, I was just here for a short period of time. But this man became my friend. Like, he would tell me what's happening. He would put me on to who I should talk to, who I should avoid, and stuff like that. And I was like, you don't get this down south. Like, everybody lives in a high wall and everybody has a key to their apartment. You know, you don't talk to your neighbors.
I always find it so depressing. Like, what do you mean you're my neighbor? And we can't just say, hi, how are you?
It really is,
Like, so weird.
I think for me, like the code switching, for me involved the masking a lot more than everything else. And then once I got comfortable with the mask, then I started now, like, it gives me time to like unlearn and like learn at my own pace what works for me, how do I deal with so and so. If I don't know anything, I'm gonna put on a mask and be like, okay, so this person wants me to behave a certain way. I'm gonna do that. All right. So what I do need to like put out there is the aspect of having, let's call it a hybrid personality. And the building that hybrid personality. There's a way it kind of fortifies you, but like it takes a while to get to that. Do you feel like now you have?
I think with time, if I knew, because I think I used to be very hard on myself in the beginning, and I'm like, I'm not a real Tanzanian, and I used to get, you know, inside my head, I used to really like be hard on myself, like, you're not a real Tanzanian, and you should really know Kiswahili, and you should really get out there and know the slang and know this, and
mine
you should know
was
that.
Like, what if they know? They're gonna know.
That's
the stuff.
So I was hard on myself in the beginning, but then with time, I think just general acceptance of self, and then also finding your tribe. That is very, very helpful, because you realize that, okay, my past experiences which happened to be that I lived abroad, does shape me, and it shapes me to a great extent to which people can detect that I'm not from here. And that's who I am, and I'm okay with that, and other people should learn to be that too. I do find it difficult though, and it still gets under my skin when people make comments. And so one of the comments that's made is like, lazima ujue Kiswahili. And so the thing is, like I told you, my brain has different modes. And so I think it also has something to do with comfort. If I'm not comfortable around someone, somehow my brain will say, oh, bye-bye Kiswahili, And then when I am comfortable, suddenly that same person, it's like they might even learn like, oh, kumbe huyu anajua Kiswahili, anaweza, like they'll see like I can speak Kiswahili, but then it's just that comfort if I'm, and so that's a real thing.
The disappearance of Swahili for me also does. It is affected by how comfortable I am with a person, but also don't put me in front of people and ask me to speak Swahili. It just that evaporates. Like
I really like what you said. I'm sorry. I really liked what you said about finding it your true authentic self, because then now you kind of become unapologetic. Because for me personally, I used to have such a challenge with like public transport or something, because I would be so insecure, and I'm just there like, oh my god, my Swahili, my what. But once I stepped into that, like once I stepped up like into my true self, and I'm like, I'm not I am what I am. I mean, you're gonna take what you get, cause even with my dressing nowadays, I still dress modestly because I mean the rules and everything, but at the same time, I'm not going to not get on a dollar without my full face of makeup or something. Like, this is just who I am,
And I think the makeup too. Can we talk about that? So for me, I think like growing up, makeup is an expectation of women, so it's hard for me to, and it's not as if it's a challenge. Like if someone said, "Oh, I dare you to go without makeup," that's so easy.
Yeah, I get that.
But I've noticed that there's perceptions that people have towards makeup that I'm like, And so for like just the same way in which someone would probably not leave the house without ironing their clothes is the same kind of thing that I feel like for women, if you when you leave the house, it shows that you care about where you're going, you put an effort into how you appear. However, this is a culture where I guess people are more natural. So I do recall a couple of times where someone had commented like, "Oh, wearing makeup to work?" And I'm just like,
I mean, my mom literally goes to the gym with like lip gloss and like make sure she like it's like look good. So that's how I've also been brought up. So it's like even when I do come to work,
but I think that's one thing that like even from appearance, you look different because you wear more makeup.
You take effort in how you present yourself.
But not that women don't. I think women here don't. It's just that I think here they didn't grow up with the expectation of makeup. And so someone like you, like looking at you straight away, I would already 50% of me is like, I think maybe she's not from here. Just by looking.
Without even opening my mouth.
You didn't even open your mouth.
I've already set myself up.
All right, so I feel like we've discussed about a lot about the weight of this identity crisis. But now there are those like us who will be coming back. What do you think are healthy coping mechanisms that they should be aware of as they prepare to come back home?
Well, I mean, there's the cultural aspect, then there's also, what else? There's the language aspect, and there's just life. So hopefully the people coming back have been here before. And so what I would advise them is essentially what I would advise myself had I known. I would have said patience, and then also have an expectation for things to move at a drastically slower pace. Drastically, just drastically slower.
I don't think we can emphasize that. They need to actually experience that. You could tell somebody and they think they understand. Like you can emphasize
true.
drastically.
But at least they were told.
Yeah.
So then they have that recollection of, oh, I remember that lady on the podcast said that.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just being shocked at like, why are
How
things so
dare
slow
you.
and why are people, you know, so have an expectation of people perhaps being perceived to you as a bit laissez-faire, things get done slowly and sometimes extremely slow.
Yeah.
And then also trust people, like know that it's okay to trust people a bit more here. Because while yes there's negatives, there's also the positive of people being genuine and being trustworthy. Like when you're talking about the guy with the mangoes, and for me, talking to people, like you know how in certain conversations you can feel that this person has an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people here don't have an ulterior motive.
They're really in it just for the
really
vibes.
genuine. They're really trustworthy, which can be also such a shock because you come
You're
from a
used
place
to being guarded.
where you have to.
constantly.
you're very used to being guarded. And so when people are genuinely nice and genuinely trustworthy, it's also shocking. So I would say prepare yourself to receive people as well. You don't have to be as guarded here. Of course, watch out, like, you know, be perceptive of your surroundings and of the people, but also be ready to receive them. You don't have to treat people the same way that you treated outside, like just guarded and like, oh, people have ulterior motives. A lot of people here don't, which is one thing that I enjoy about being here, how trustworthy people are. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to take that advice because I've been here for a while now and I still don't trust nobody.
Yeah. It's
course.
hard. It's hard. Me
It's
too.
really hard.
Yeah.
And pair that with the fact that I'm an introvert, it takes a lot for me to let somebody in. And it's something that I always hear from my sister. She's like, Lucy, how are you going to meet a man?
Yeah.
Lucy, how are you going to do this? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And she would host parties and like, okay, this day I'm kind of comfortable with it at her house.
Yeah.
But like there was a time she would host a party and I'd go there and I'm like with the kids. And she'd be like, Lucy, go hang out with people your age.
Yeah.
Leave my children alone. I'm like, but I like them more than I like these people.
Yeah, it can be scary to trust in the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah, because we're so guarded outside. A lot of people do have like ulterior motives. It's one of those things, I can't put it to words. Again, this is something that someone has to come and experience. Once you've experienced it, you'll understand like, oh, this is what it is to be among people who don't have as many ulterior motives. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, everybody's safe. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just like there's a way in which when you talk, like, okay, I think.
Can you try putting it in a percentage? Like
Percentage?
Yeah.
I wouldn't
No, that's
know.
difficult.
Yeah. I just say overall.
Yeah.
But I think it's, I think what it is like, for me, I would say in other places that I've been, there's a sense that you have the person that you're talking to, especially when you're strangers. People are always asking themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So you're talking to someone and you can feel, it's very visceral, like you can just feel like someone is saying, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And then when you talk to someone, a lot of people here, they're just like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And it's even reflected in the language from my observation. And so I noticed like in Western cultures, very quick to blame. Like, for example, customer service issues. And so let's say like you're at a hair salon and they cut your hair the wrong way or whatever. Usually I would, like, if let's say I'm the person receiving the service, I would get angry and say, this is your fault and da 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 da. But in our language even, there's, you know, and I remember this took me a long time to adjust to. The person who's doing the service, they would say, what should we do now? Like what? And so I'm like, why are you involving me in your fault?
Your mistakes.
Yeah, this is your mistake. But then I noticed that, I've heard it so many times, like people, and this is why people are so calm too, if you notice. Like when you just like, no, not many people are having outbursts. In other places, people have outbursts.
I know, you get the nerve here, like the vein popping.
Yeah, and so there's a very collective thinking. And so when you talk to people, you also sense this thing of like, how can we help each other? How can we help each other? It's not always about what's in it for me.
I think that that's a good point. It's a very collective society.
Yeah.
You know, like people kind of look out for each other and genuinely don't want to cause you any distress or whatever, you know. And when you work together, then you can come to a solution or like a result or whatever. Then being all crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're almost towards the end of part 1. I do have a little game.
Yay.
Let's test our Tanzanianness.
Ooh la
Oh
la
my
la. Woo, okay.
Shafeli.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick thinking.
Yeah.
Quick thinking. Don't overthink it. Just the first answer that comes to your head, this or that.
Okay.
All right. Chapati or croissant?
Chapati.
Chapati for real. Like
Yeah.
chapati is my favorite food for real.
Okay. Respect your elders or speak the truth.
Speak the
That's
truth.
Okay.
Speak the
Speak the
truth.
truth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Career stability or passion projects?
Career-
Passion project.
Career stability for me because,
Yeah.
you know, it's more reliable in a way.
And just starting off, you're still figuring things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Swahili memes or English sarcasm?
I think some Swahili memes can actually be so funny.
Do you
Yeah,
relate
they can-
to them?
They're
yeah,
so
they
Do
can-
you
funny.
understand the
When
language?
we understand them,
I
we
will have to
understand.
say, because it's so hard for me. What am I going to say? I'll go Swahili memes.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
so
I'm going to go
funny.
with English sarcasm
Yeah.
because I don't really understand a lot of Swahili sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Jeans or dera? Y'all are
Jeans,
overthinking it.
jeans. I say jeans just because I have many dares at home. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys experienced this, but when I'm moving through the house, the sleeve of my dare, every time it's caught in the door.
Or you trip on
Yeah, it's
there
caught in the
because
door.
it's too
So I
long.
just feel like that's so annoying.
Okay, I mean, I like deras, but I like deras when I'm not in Tanzania because
Wow.
yeah,
Because
like
it's exotic.
whenever I'm in Namibia and I wear
Yeah.
dera, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, where are you from? Where is
Yeah.
that outfit?" I'm like,
I've
I
never
wear this
worn.
at home.
Yeah.
I've never worn a dare outside, to be honest. Like
Outside
outside, not outside
Oh, outside the
Tanzania,
house.
like outside the house. Yeah, I just have
Like you
never
need to have a
done
dera
it.
for like the house, and
Yeah.
then that one that they call them boo-boos.
Boo-boos.
Yeah, the boo-boos, the ones that the rich bougie aunties. that
yes,
you-
yeah.
yeah.
It's a
They're
really
technically
nice one.
deras, but
Yeah.
they're like the nicer.
Yeah, I get that.
Those ones.
Maybe I need to invest
I
in
think
them.
Zabayas.
Abayas are black though.
Abayas are black, yeah. But I think that those
They're
the
still
bedazzled
nice,
ones,
yeah.
yeah, but stuff like that. So when I'm in
Putting
Namibia,
me
I'm
on
like to wear
game,
that
putting
because
me on
yeah, it's a showstopper. I'm like, how
That's
Tanzania.
a showstopper.
Yeah,
You know, I
all right.
like that.
So, guys, we've come to the end of part 1. We still have another conversation, so stay tuned because we are going to talk about the language. Guys, Swahili is a lot.
Yeah.
Meh? You need to hear it from us who are still struggling. So, stay tuned for part 2 of this conversation, and we are out.